Hello everybody, this is the video for Module 4, Lesson 6, continuing on our decimal journey. Now that we know the place values and the decimal place values and how much they're worth, we are going to be comparing decimal numbers today. So that's what all of our questions are going to be focused on. And the purpose is to compare them size-wise and also to order them from either least to greatest or greatest to least. The big thing you're going to want to remember today is that for every type of comparing questions, you are going to use this strategy. Skip a line and you're going to write the word stack. We've seen this before with addition and subtraction, but today we're using it for comparing, okay? Now stacking can be done on a place value chart, or it can just be done on a blank sheet of paper using the decimal points, okay? So for example, if you want to compare 6/10 and 6/100, you already might know which one's bigger based on our discussions in the first few lessons. However, today, if you want credit on your homework, in the blank area surrounding the questions like these, we need you to stack. So the first thing I'm going to do is change these to their standard form. So if I were to write 6/10 on a place value chart, we should know that the decimal point would be right in front of the 6 like that. If I were to draw 6/100 on the place value chart or put 6 discs in that area, you would have 0 in the tenths place and 6 in the hundredths, okay? But this is still not enough. Stacking means I'm gonna put them one on top of the other. So for today, you're gonna hear me saying a lot, make your snowman buttons first. So because I'm comparing two numbers with decimals in them, we are going to stack 2 decimal points. And now you might see why I call them snowman buttons, because they're lined right up. As soon as you have that down, you may plug in the numbers as they look. So I'm going to put the first number on top and the second number on bottom. The last thing you need to know is, just like everything else we've seen so far, when we compare numbers, we always go from the greatest place values to the least greatest place values on the place value chart. And because these numbers don't line up digit-wise, you can also annex zeros. So I'm going to annex a 0 right here so that both of these numbers have the same amount of digits, but without changing the value. This is still 6/10, but that's equal to 60/100. If I have 6 dimes, that's the same as 60 pennies. So again, annexing a 0 does not change the value of the number. Now, like I just said, you always go from left to right. So draw yourself an arrow like this to remind yourself that on every question today, after you stack, you go from left to right. And whenever you find a difference, that is what tells you is the greater number. And then you can go ahead and put your greater than, less than, or equal to sign there. So right off the rip, you can see right here, 6 is greater than 0. So this side is greater, okay? Now let's say I give you a series of numbers. So skip a couple lines. I'm gonna leave that word stack there, it's important. And please write down the following numbers: 3 and 742 thousandths, comma, 37 and 42 hundredths, comma, 3 and 74 hundredths, comma, and one more, 0 and 742 thousandths. So in today's work, you may see a list of numbers and they're going to ask you to order them. Read the directions carefully on these ones. We might have to go greatest to least. We might need to go least to greatest. So I'm going to pick one of those two and I'm going to write it down. So our directions for this one is we are going to order these from least, meaning the smallest amount, to greatest. Write that down. Now that you have that down, pay attention. We are going to stack all of them, okay? So before I start trying to guess, I am going to put down 4 snowman buttons. 1, 2, 3, 4. Try to use each line of your notebook and make sure they're in a nice straight line. Now we'll be able to stack these numbers. So make sure the decimal point stays between the 2 digits that are in the ones place and the tenths place as they are in the original number. So I'm going to write the 3, my marker there again. I was hoping to keep it color coordinated. I'm going to write 3 and 742 thousandths. That's my first number. Now I'm going to write, watch how this one goes. Look at this one. This one's 37, so the 7 and 37 should be in the ones place right underneath here. So again, stacking these on a place value chart might work too, where you write the numbers underneath each other on the place value chart. And then the 4 goes under this 7, the 2 goes under that. Then I have 3 and 74 hundredths, so that lines up like that. And for my last one, it was 0 in the ones place and 742 thousandths. Make sure your notebook matches up here. Now what I'm going to do before I go left to right is I'm going to annex zeros that are not there right now. So I see there's nothing above or below this 3 right here in pink. So I'm going to put a 0 here, a 0 here, and a 0 here. And then these 2 spaces on these shorter digit numbers are also going to get a 0 over here in the thousandths place. So now if I were to draw a line between each one of these columns, I have digits to compare from 0 to 9. Okay, you need to show this on your homework, okay? I'm gonna write this over here. Show your work. Okay, you don't need to write this, but I'm going to because this is important. If you want credit for your homework, and if you want to get all these questions that I think are very easy right on the test, don't make the silly mistake of trying to be a hero and do these in your head. It's not worth getting a wrong answer and making a careless mistake. Because once you set this up, just as long as you know which numbers are greater than the other ones, this should be fairly easy. So I drew an arrow because I'm going to go from greatest to least in terms of place value. But when I write these numbers in the correct order, I need to make sure the smallest one goes first. Okay? So I'm just going to make some notes on the right here and rank them because it's easier to find the greatest first, because when we go from greatest to least greatest place value, that's the one we're going to see first. And you might already say, hey, look it, if I start over here, this one is the greatest one. So I'm going to put the word greatest next to this one, okay? And because there are 4 numbers, I'm going to put a 4 here. This is the greatest. This is going to be the last one in my list, not the first one. And for the rest of these, I'm going to circle a number next to it to kind of help me out. So I'm done with this one. I might draw a line through it. Now I'm going to compare the next greatest. So these 2 have a 3. This one has a 0. So I'm going to ignore this one. So these are the next 2 greatest. So they are the same. So I'm going to move over again. Up, the 7 and the 7 are the same. The 4 and the 4 are the same. Up, we have a 2 and we have a 0. So this one is the next greatest number. That's the 3rd number in my list. I'm done with that one. That means this one has to be the 2nd greatest number because of that 3 in the ones place. Those 2 started off the same. And then that means that this number right here is my smallest. So right now, I have the order I need to rewrite these. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to rewrite them without those annex zeros how they originally were in my number. So my first number was this one right here. I'm sorry, this one. So I'm going to write that first in my list. 742 thousandths. I'm going to put a comma. My second number, which was originally in green before I annexed my zeros, was this number right here. 3 74 hundredths, comma. My third number was this one up here in green, which was originally purple, but my marker ran out. 3 742 thousandths, comma. And don't forget, the first number we found out that was the greatest, which we said is the fourth one in our list, is 37 42 hundredths. And again, I took off those orange zeros. I went right back to the original one, because if this was a multiple choice question, they're not going to have those nice zeros annexed in for you on the different choices. So why did we stack? Well, because if you don't stack them, it is hard to see which one's greater based on their original form. You might say, hey, this one's the biggest. It has a lot of big digits, or maybe this one. But you don't know until you really line up the place values, because based on where those digits are in the number is really important for how big they really are. And now it should make sense. Look in the ones place. This is the only number that does not have a number in the ones place. So this is definitely the smallest. The rest of them have either a 3 or a 37. So the 2 3s have to be in the middle, because 37 is much bigger than 3 1s. And then to compare these two, this one had the 2 here, this one had the 0 here. So this would be like 740, like we saw right there. And this would be the 742 thousandths. And then our largest number, which actually made it look smaller at the beginning, was 37 42 hundredths. Now again, we could use the same strategy even if it said greatest to least. You would just put the numbers in opposite order. So if I wanted greatest to least, I would start with my 4, this 37 42 hundredths, and just do the reverse order. This number would be written first, then this one, then this one, and then this one. Good luck.